Hi folks, ThriceRisen here with a bit of deck construction. I'm going to be taking my Tribal Jamboree commander deck with Atraxa, Praetors voice, Atraxa's Little Shop of Horrors. If you want to see the deck tech for how I built this deck and my discussion about it, look at the link below and you can watch that, because this deck is going away. It is going to be fused with this deck, which is just a good stuff counter matters Atraxa deck. The reason I'm doing this is because this deck was fun to play, but it was kind of going in two different directions, and it was helpful to do that at the tournament, but there were just as many times, if not more times, where I would draw one card that was for one strategy when I was working on another strategy, and the deck kind of didn't do anything because of that. So this deck is going to become almost entirely about the combo, and then the horrors and the tribal aspect is going to migrate over into this counter matters deck. So I'm just going to set some of these cards aside, some of them land base, as you can see here. Those are just going to be set aside. And then we have some of the combo pieces. Conda's Banner will move over here, and then we have a big stack of horrors. Let's see where that ends. Right about there. Alright, then we have an elixir. It's probably going to stay over here, as well as the mana acceleration base and the exsanguinate and the good tutors are all going to go over here. Let's see, card draw. Those will probably all stay the same. The Atlas will probably stay there. Removal will stay there. This card will move over here. As well as, let's see here. There's one land I'm probably going to move over, and that's Gavany Township will probably move over. So I'll put like a Boseiju or something in here once we get around to that. So that's the land. I'm just going to set that over here. It's the Gavany Township, which I will remove and set like that. The horrors will be unsleeved. These will go over here. I'm just going to set all the cards that are going to go into this deck off to the side, along with the whole rest of that deck. Because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on the combo part of the deck. So this card I mentioned in the previous video, but I didn't mention it by name, so I'm going to do that here. Faces of the Past is the name of this enchantment. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, tap or untap all creatures that share a creature type with it. So it was kind of cool. It really did not come into use as much as I thought it would. Now, Thing in the Ice, I might actually leave in the deck as a form of removal. Mass Bounce is pretty cool. And I have multiple copies of Thing in the Ice, so I could put one of them in here. One of the other ones will go into the Horror deck. Chasm Skulker's kind of neat, Night Howler, things like that. These will all migrate over to the other deck. So what's going to go in the place of these 27 horrors, the Conda's Banner, and the Faces of the Past? Well, the deck could actually combo off decently well, even with all of these cards, quote-unquote, in the way. So I think it has a lot of potential to be a very strong control combo deck, and I will now have 27, 28, 29 holes in the deck to put better support in for that. Maybe 28 if I decide to keep Thing in the Ice in there. But for now, I'm just going to put it with the rest of the horrors over here with Gavany. So the land is over. I'm going to put it off to the side here. Atraxa is going to go into my threat column. For those of you who have seen how I build decks, this will be no surprise to you. And then Serum Visions, Preordain, Brainstorm, Ponder, Gitaxian Probe, Mystic Speculation, Sensei's Divining Top, and Otherworld Atlas will go into my card draw or card filter, card advantage column right there. Swan Song, Source to Plowshares, Path to Exile, and Cyclonic Rift will go into my answers. Definitely going to be adding more things in here, like Crows and Grip, for example. Nature's Lore, Sylvan Scrying, Safe Right Quest, Tithe, Soul Ring, Mana Vault, Commander Sphere, Everflowing Chalice, and Astral Cornucopia will go over here into my mana column. My ramp column. Exsanguinate will go over here into the threats. Vampiric Tutor, Demonic Tutor, Mystical Tutor, and Enlightened Tutor will go into my tutors column. Elixir of Immortality will go into my recursion column. And as for win cons, Paradox Engine will go here because it just kind of wins. Oracle's Vault, I will technically put it in the card advantage column. The reason I'm doing this is because even if you have it just by itself, it's getting you deeper into your deck. Helm of Awakening, I attempted to put it into the ramp column. I think that's where it'll stay. Future Sight is card advantage, and Aetherflux Reservoir is in the threats or kill conditions column. So, as you can see, this is the current breakdown of the deck. I've got 29 slots to fill. Where am I going to go? I'm definitely going to put more answers in here. My ramp package is pretty good. I can probably make it maybe a little bit better, maybe throw 1 or 2 more cards over there. So let's grab my collection of cards, and I'm going to rifle through it to see what we can find to support this deck. So those are my horrors in the front there. Let's look at land, because I probably am going to put a Boseiju or something in there. Let's just rifle through the land that I've got going on here in my little collection of land. There's the Boseiju. That's probably what I'm going to select to put in there. I've got a Reliquary Tower. I don't think... Inventor's Fair is another possibility. Temple of the False God is a possibility as well. So those are 3 potential land that I could decide to put in there. Now let's look at my white cards that I've got here. We got Thalia. Even Mind Sensor. That might be a good card. Silence, Blind Obedience, Angel's Grace. Those are definitely good things. Wrath of God is good. Wall of Omens, I probably don't want you. So those are some good considerations. Let's look at blue. Blue, we have Fabricate. There's a Spare Future Sight. Laboratory Maniac, absolutely. Peregrine Drake and Deadeye Navigator, probably not. Remand, maybe, probably. Counterspell, yes. Arcane Denial. Impulse. Clock Spinning, I don't know, because there's a lot less counters going to be happening here. So, probably not. Mind's Aglow, maybe. Trinket Mage, perhaps. Disallow. Dream Fracture. Let's see what else we got going on in here. I'm passing over some of the higher CMC cards. There's a Predict for a deliberate reason, and you'll see what that is once we get to the black cards. So, Chain of Vapor is good. Spell Pierce, probably not. Hurkyl's Recall, maybe. There's a Spare Thing. So that's a thing. Alright, let's move on to the black cards. We have Toxic Deluge, Ad Nauseam. That's why I'm keeping the CMC a bit low. Let's see, what else we have? Raven's Crime, not really that interesting to me. Sudden Death, maybe. That's kind of a situational card, I think. Languish, also sort of situational. Sudden Spoiling, that's one that ought to be included. Blood Chief Ascension, maybe, I don't know. Probably not. That's probably better in the other version of the deck. Now we're getting into other things like Sadistic Sacrament, which is, that's a maybe. That's a very strong maybe. Leaning towards the no. Cabal Ritual, perhaps. Dark Ritual, perhaps. Storm-flavored things. That's probably good for the black. No red in this deck. Manglehorn, we don't need you. Eternal Witness, yes. Moment's Peace, perhaps. Crows and Grip, How I Missed You. Sprout Swarm, you're pretty good. Rex Sage is alright. Root Maze is okay. I'll probably not go with Root Maze because it hurts me just as well. Cultivate. I don't know if I want to cultivate, but I'll set it aside. Beast Within. Spoils I'll probably take. Traverse I'll probably take. Lignify is pretty interesting. Elvish Fury lets me punch someone with my commander. That's library. Worldly Tutor. Yes, yes. Both good. Skullwinder, perhaps. Let's see. Veteran Explorer? No. Skoos? No. Realms Uncharted? No. Life from the Loam? No, I'm not land matters enough for that. Rancor? Kind of useful, but kind of all in on the Atraxa plan at that point. Let's see. Gaia's Blessing? Probably not. Burgeoning, that's good. Crop Rotation, maybe? Probably not. Constant Mists, another good fog. Alright, let's talk multicolored. Mr. Snake is a maybe. Deathrite Shaman, yes. I already have a Safe Ride quest in there. Diabolic Vision is pretty good for card advantage purposes. Putrefy. I don't know about you. Abrupt Decay. Maybe, probably not. The utility in Commander is very low for Abrupt Decay, in my opinion. Unless you know that your meta is going to be heavily on the low CMC. Maelstrom Pulse is a good card. Limdol's Vault. Pretty good. Alright, so those are the multicolored. Let's look now at artifacts. I'm going to slide this ever so slightly forward so it doesn't fall over on me. Tormod's Crypt is good. Welding Jar, good. Spellbook, amazing. Pithing Needle, okay. Temple Bell, pretty good. Relic of Prague, pretty good. Statuary, maybe. Chrome Mox, yes. Lotus Petal, yes. Cold Steel, perhaps. Greaves, maybe. Maybe. Let's just keep cycling through. Thought Vessel, yes. Prismatic Lens, possibly. Expedition Map is good. Paradise Mantle is good. Voltaic Key is good. Bauble is fun, but probably not the best for this. Now we're getting into other things. I think that might be the limit of our artifacts, but we'll just look through them anyway. Altar of the Brood is cheeky, as is Marvel, but probably not very utility in this. Lotus Bloom, probably not. Altar, no. Lotus Blossom, no. Horn of Greed, no. Explorer Scope, no. Oh, there goes a Burnished Heart. Grab you. Provoker, no. Cloak and Dagger, no. Just gonna put these back in there. Mirrors, no. Don't need the mirrors. That's a Batter Skull. I'll set that aside for the other deck. Hangerback Walker. It's tempting. It makes a bunch of things. So that's a maybe. Torpor Orb. Probably not good for this. Although if I was not running... I actually might put that there because there's not a whole lot of enter the battlefield effects on creatures. There's Eternal Witness and things like that, but those might just end up being cut. Monuments, Dark Sphere, Zern Orb, those are probably good. Spell Bomb is pretty okay. Trading Post lets you do stuff and things. There's Felden's Cane and Thran Foundry, two of my favorite cards. Okay, so we have a pile of cards here. Let me just gather these up, and we'll go from there. Now, obviously, this is way more than 29 cards, so I'm not going to be using all of these. Let's just keep these sorted sort of by color, shall we? So I'm going to have to make a lot of cuts from this pool before I decide what is going to end up in the deck and what's not. And that's how I build decks. I start really wide and then I narrow it down. So there's the black. Let's get all the blue here. And as you can see, this is just going to be a good stuff combo matters deck. So Torpor Orb might be something that I want to use. It also might not. So land, white, blue, black, green, multicolored, artifact. I'm going to set these aside. And I'm going to close this and move it out of the way. I love this thing, by the way. Brief shout out. I'll probably do a proper review of it later. Okay, so we have 3 land that might go over here. I'm going to set those off to the side. Now let's look at what these cards break down into. So this is control, control, control. I'd say Angel's Grace is control, control, tutor. I'm going to shrink these down so that we can fit some cards next to them and everyone can see. Laboratory Maniac is a win condition, pure and simple. Counterspells, control, control. Card draw, tutor. Let's see, cards, answer. First recall, I'm not sure what I'm going to classify that as just yet. This is all just off the top. Ad Nauseam is technically card draw. Ramp, recursion, answer, win condition, answer, ramp, cards, tutor, recursion, ramp. And so it goes. Deathrite, he's kind of weird. I'll put him in the ramp because that's more than likely what he'd be used for. Cards, mana. We'll take keys, one of those, just, I guess, an accelerant, so I'll just put it over here. Mana, kind of one of those weird cards. Recursion, utility card, answers. There's a lot of answers there. And I guess the question is here, am I going in on Ad Nauseam? Because that will influence me to lower my curve. So let's just see what that would look like. I would be instinctively going towards lower CMC cards rather than just the really good ones. So let's see if I put Ad Nauseam there. Let's see how that affects what I'm doing. Because we have some CMC 0 things in this stack. There's 3 of them right there. And then we have CMC 1 things in this stack. There they are. And that's 2. And then 3. And then looking at this, we have 1, and then 2 3s. Then we have 1s, and then 2 3s. We have 1, some 2s, and a 3. We have over here a 0. It's the only one of that sort. We have a 1, a bunch of 2s, and a 3. 0, 0. 1s. There's a 0. There's a 0. Any more 1s in here? There's 1. There's another. And another. That goes there. Alright, CMC 2s. Just stacking them up like so. Alright, so that's kind of how that breaks down. That's 4, that's 2, and that's 0 technically. So on Ad Nauseam, I'm going to be gravitating more towards the lower end of the curve because I don't want to die. So, let's start with some additional mana ramp at 0. This is a card I was going to put in regardless of what happened. Chrome Mox is just good, as is Lotus Petal. And Paradise Mantle is a card I've been eager to test out in the deck. Because Atraxa being vigilant, she can attack, and then second main add mana. So, it's useful. Worldly Tutor is going to be good. Fabricate might exist for the sake of getting some stuff in there. I'm going to put the Felden's Cane and the Thran Dynamo in there just to have some more recursion sources. If I'm in on Torpor Orb, I'm not going to be putting Eternal Witness and things like that in the deck, because that's just a bad idea if that's the case. Let's look at the CMC 0 stuff over here. Welding Jar, I think, is a pretty good include, because it lets me protect my artifact win conditions. So I think that's a good plan. Let's see, Voltaic Key lets me untap artifacts. It's pretty good. It's pretty solid, I think. Wrath of God, I'll probably set aside for now. We'll set aside the 0 CMC here. Spellbook. Anytime I can reduce the maximum, or increase the maximum hand size, that's good. Mind's Aglow, I was on the fence about, so I'll put over there. Let's look at this here. Silence seems pretty good if I'm going to try to combo off, as does Angel's Grace. Seems pretty solid to me. Relic of Progenitus is a good answer. I might leave that over there for a moment. Blind Obedience is really good. Let's see. Counter Spell, of course. Arcane Denial, of course. Torpor Orb is still in the maybe pile. I'm going to just put it over here with the other maybe pile things for the moment. Let's see. Even Mind Sensor seems pretty good. Think about it. Krosan Grip is a card that I'm just going to add, along with Sudden Spoiling. That's one card that's in this other deck that I might go find. Is there's a Wipe Away, I think, in here. So I'm going to briefly have a look for it. As Foretold is another card that might be very useful with Atraxa in this format. Or in this case, that is. I'm going to just briefly look through this deck while I'm here. See if there's anything I'm missing. Authority of a Consoles. That's a good one. There's a lot of high CMC things in here, so not that useful for the Ad Nauseam plan. Oh, there's a Farseek, though. That's good. Academy Ruins, that's a good one. Trophy Mage. But if I'm going in on Torpor Orb, I'm probably not going to do that. And I'm kind of leaning on that because there's a lot of commander decks that just aren't ready for Torpor Orb. And I think that's something that can be capitalized on, perhaps. Alright, so we've got all these cool things in here that I'm going to unsleeve and add to the potential pool. Which is fine because we're going to have to clear space in the other deck anyway to put all those horrors into the deck. So there we go. We have a Pixis of the Pantheon, which I think is a pretty nifty mana rock. Luminarch Ascension. It's another good kill condition. I'm going to put the Academy Ruins in that missing land slot. Farseek is good. I'm going to put it over there. Authority is good. Wipe Away, pretty solid. Now, as Foretold. I'm going to actually add the Laboratory Maniac before I forget to. As for Told, it's pretty useful, but it's once per turn I get a free spell. I don't know. Now in this deck, I've got a lot of cheap 0-drop things, but why would I want to pay 0 when I pay 0 for something else? So this will probably stay over there. Alrighty, so what are we going to do with some of these other cards here? Because I'm not going in on ETBs, in fact, let's grab that Torpor Orb and put it in here. Don't cause abilities to trigger. Do I have any other... It does hurt my Authority of the Consuls. I stop getting life, but I think that's okay. If that's... I'm looking here. If that's the only thing that that hurts me, and I'm looking through the deck and I don't see anything else that triggers on the arrival of creatures, so if that's the only thing that hurts me with having Torpor Orb in there, I think I'm going to have Torpor Orb in the deck. So what do we got? We have 5 slots for various things. So let's tidy up a little bit and see our answers. I'm going to put these here in a very specific way. So we still only have 3 counterspells in the deck. That seems a little light to me. So we might want to see what else we have. That's a Reclamation Sage. I'm going to move him to the side, along with this Trinket Mage, the Sidewinder, the E-Witness, all these ETB creatures. Let's see what else we have in this pile here. There's a Sylvan Library. That really ought to go in the deck, because it's just such a good source of card advantage. Impulse is pretty good. Diabolic Vision's pretty good. Limdol's Vault is pretty fantastic. Limdol's Vault I'll probably put in. I don't like the card, but I can't argue that it is not a good card. I cannot do that. Spoils. Spoils I'll probably put in as more ramp. Thought Vessel I'll probably put in. And once again, I'm probably going to cut down on some of these cards once I get a better idea of what's going on here. Expedition Map is good. Traverse is good, because it lets me find a lab man, more than likely. Alright, so I'm out of sleeves. So, let's see. Let's see what we have going on here. We have a lot of card advantage. A lot of it. Otherworld Atlas, maybe, could be cut. Although it does have the... I want to hit that magical Christmas land of getting this up to 100 counters, casting Angel's Grace, and having everyone draw their whole deck. But I just don't think it's going to happen, and at CMC 4 with Ad Nauseam, it just hurts too much. So that's a slot freed up. Hangerback I don't think I'm going to need. Trading Post is the same. Hercules I don't think I'm going to need. Predict. Well, Hercules is a good evac. I think I'm going to put a Hercules in there because it can help me storm off a little harder, and it protects my things if someone is blowing stuff up. So that's something there. Fabricate is a good tutor. This is an awful lot of ramp. Let's have a look here. That's CMC 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. Then we have 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. Spoils I'll probably take out, actually, because it's CMC 3. And we have all these. There's a CMC 3, and these are CMC 0. So that's a lot of mana. So I might switch over to this Fabricate. Maybe? Or I could go in on an Expedition Map. But what land am I going to be getting? Do I want a specific land badly enough to put Expedition Map in the deck? And I don't know if the answer is yes to that question. I don't think it is. I'm going to put... I might want to put the Beast Within in the deck. Have more ways to deal with objects. What are my ways to deal with objects? I got Beast Within. Path and Swords only hit creatures. Psych Rift hits an object if I need it to badly. Grip hits an object. Wipe Away hits an object. So 4. And then a few counter spells. Welding Jar. I think that's okay. Expedition Map I don't need. Sprout Swarm. If I had a Concordant Crossroads in the deck, or in my possession at all, which I don't, in either case, I would be tempted to run Sprout Swarm. Because if I go infinite with Sprout Swarm, then... yeah, Sprout Swarm goes infinite by itself if you have enough green creatures. You don't need anything else. If you just can generate enough green creatures, Paradox Engine helps it significantly. But this and Paradox Engine just goes infinite by itself if you have enough creatures in play. But they don't have haste, so... and I don't have anything to sack them to for any kind of reliable effect, so Sprout Swarm's going to get cut. Lightning Greaves would probably be a good include for Atraxa, because I'm not targeting her with anything else. So that's a consideration to have. Paradise, let's see, what do we have here? We have colored sources of mana. We have Pyramid, we have Commander Sphere, Paradise Mantle, Chrome Box, Astral Cornucopia. We've got lots of colored mana sources. So, what else would we cut? We've got some really good card advantage here. We've got some good answers here. Is Welding Jar necessary? That's a good question. Do we need a Silence? I think Silence is probably a good card to have. Luminarch Ascension's good. Voltaic Key, if we don't have a Paradox Engine, it's kind of a secondary way to just get some additional advantage. With a Paradox Engine, you can double up on things, so you tap everything down, untap something, get a second effect, then cast, untap everything with Paradox. So you're doubling up on an effect. Welding Jar, I think, is probably pretty necessary for the sake of protecting artifacts. If they Crows and Grip it, they Crows and Grip it, but other than that, not much you can do there. So, Nature's Lore, Sylvan's Grind, Farseek. Do I need Sylvan's Grind? I probably should keep it because at the very least it's getting me a command tower. Elixir. Do I want an Elixir? I could probably go down the Thran Foundry for the sake of a Lightning Greaves, because I just think that gives my commander some more legs. So, let's have a final look at this. Our mana acceleration package is there, and it is big. Our answer package is way better than the 4 original answers that we had. So there's the answer package, there's the kill condition package, and here's our card advantage package. So, what do we have here? A huge amount of mana. Should not be any problems with mana in this deck whatsoever. And the other question is, do we want to add any of these cards? And I think the answer is probably. So what would we cut in favor of that? Now, I could probably go down a basic Swamp because the amount of black in the deck has dropped significantly since I took all the horrors out. Also, what else could I potentially cut? I'm liking the rest of this. Talaria West is really good. Could I go down a basic Forest, perhaps? Because their green in here is pretty much strictly for the ramp. White, I'm going to keep my white. Could I go down a blue? almost assuredly not. There's a lot of good blue things in here that I'm going to want to cast. So I guess the question is, would I prefer a Boseiju or an Inventor's Sphere? And that's a really hard question. I really would like both of them. Academy Ruins is good. There's a snow-covered island. Would I dare to go down another swamp or another snow-covered island? Or a forest. I could go down a forest, perhaps. Let's see. That's a really hard question. Mana bases are always tricky. Mana bases require you to do a lot of soul searching, because you have to think, what do I want to draw early? What do I need? And these are both colorless, so I'm going down potentially two colored sources. I think the swamp is a safe one. But for what? Temple probably not, because I've got enough colorless going on here. This lets me go get an artifact, which lets me do any of these number of things. But this lets me fire off Ad Nauseam safely. Paying a little extra life for it, so risky. But would I use this on anything other than Ad Nauseam? The answer is almost assuredly no, because I have so much things that are just 1 mana of a color. So I think if I had to pick one of the two, it would be Inventor's Sphere, because I have a ton of artifacts, and it lets me search for an artifact. So I think an Inventor's Sphere is the choice of the two, now that I realize Ad Nauseam is that, or Psych Rift, or maybe some of my other removal spells, a counter spell maybe to fight through, but there's just so many spells in here that cost 1 blue, 1 white, 1 green, that I couldn't use Boseiju on. And so it's a dead land. I don't have a way to make it tap for mana in another way, like a Urborg or Chromatic Lantern or anything like that. So I think that is probably going to be a dead land most of the time. Sad to say, because Boseiju is such a good card. But I think it would just be dead in this deck. Alright, so what are we looking at? We've got a lot of mana. We have things that can get 3 mana. We have tutors for more mana that are really good. We've got Helm of Awakening, which goes infinite with Future Sight and Sensei's Divining Top. Draw your whole deck. We have the ability for a Vigilant Commander to tap for mana, which is pretty nice. The only other creature in the deck, I think, is Laboratory Maniac. I think that's it. There's nothing else in here that's a creature. So it is a bit weak to aggro, perhaps. We'll see. This is dedicated combo. It's very much in on that plan. So I guess the deterrent to aggro would be to drop Atraxa early and keep her out and active. She's not really going to be proliferating that much. I've got a Luminarch Ascension here. I've got... let's see. Anything else with counters? I have a Pyramid of the Pantheon here. And that's really it. She's not going to be proliferating hardly anything in the deck. She's there for colors and to have a good beating commander with Haste and Shroud. And I won't feel bad doing this because I have nothing at all that targets her in any way. Unless I wanted to bounce my own permanent with a Wipe Away for some reason. But with the amount of mana, I'd probably just let her die and recast her, depending upon the turn. Because I wouldn't want to Wipe Away if it was on someone else's turn, because I can't replay her on that turn. She doesn't have Flash. I don't have a way to give her Flash. So there's no reason not to just let her die and then recast her again on my turn, unless I had something crazy to do on my next turn and it would slow me down. But if I had something crazy to do, it's probably not going to involve Atraxa being there, unless I needed her Paradise Mantle mana for some reason. But that's a very niche situation. So here's the deck. It's got lots of anti-aggro with the Authority and the Blind Obedience. Maybe an even Mind Sensor might come in here at some point. We'll have to try this out and see how it plays. I'll have to do a lot of play testing and test it against other people. But there's the deck. Atraxa's Workshops. Kind of, sort of, because it's got a little bit of Prison in here, but it doesn't have any spell increasing costs. I don't own Thorns of Amethyst or Winter Orbs or the typical prison type cards, other than like Blind Obedience and Authority. I don't even own a Propaganda anymore, sadly. I realized that I never kept that when I should have. So here it is. It's very much in on combo and a little bit of control. Lots of good answers and deterrence here. So let me know what you think. I'll be testing this in the near future, and in probably another video I'm going to build the tribal deck, because this video's gone on for a little bit. So part 2, I guess, will be the tribal deck. So stay tuned for that. I'm ThriceRisen. Thanks for watching.